What's next on our menu?
I want a meal that I can get literally any time of day from like 10 to 1. And everybody loves it. Now, I did really staunch research.
Greg has bought out a children's placemat from the place he's going to be talking about.
And it's got a little timeline on here. I'm just going to read these 5 points of
In and Out.
That's what our history research is all about.
Support Christ.
When we get there, it's going to get weird. I'm going to be talking about In-N-Out burgers.
All right.
One of my favorite places to go. If I'm out of state and people are like, you got to try this thing, I'm like, well, I passed a big giant arrow on the way over here, and we're going to eat there, friend. I had a lot of help from this. There's a book, In-N-Out Burger, Behind the Counter Look at the Fast Food Chain That Breaks All the Rules by Stacy Perman. This book helped me a lot with half of the research. In-N-Out was the dream of a married couple, Harry and Esther Schneider. In-N-Out is really... Schneider. They're Canadian. In-N-Out is really just a simple hamburger spot. Their on-print menu, very small. We'll get to their speakeasy hush-hush menu a little later. But In-N-Out is a shockingly simple landmark burger chain. Their philosophy is simple. Serve the freshest, highest quality burgers and fries, treat your employees well and your customers even better, and all while providing friendly service in a spanking clean environment. That is true of every In-N-Out I've ever been to, even the one in Barstow.
Barstow's coming up a lot in this episode.
I'm swinging hard at Barstow.
Feel free to spank in any of those spanking clean. You dirty little boy.
You can walk right in. Harry was born in 1913 to a working class family. His father Henrik was a house painter and his mother Mary was a house cleaner. The family struggled to establish themselves anywhere. In 1950, the Schneiders landed in Seattle. They survived there for a while, but in 1922, the family moved to Los Angeles, California, right at the start of the huge population boom of the decade. It pretty much defined the decade.
Did they take the same car as the Seas family?
Yeah, they were on the same. They got along really well.
The Canada Caravan?
Yeah, the Kennedy Caravan. They first lived in a one-bedroom house on Central Avenue in Watts. Soon after that, they moved to Santa Monica. The West Side at the time was expanding its own industries. Douglas Aircraft Company built a plant at Cloverfield. The La Monica Ballroom opened up. Yeah, it's not what you think. It's not a found footage horror movie. La Monica Ballroom opened up, which we discussed for 2 episodes, the Venice Piers episode and the Santa Monica Pier segment of Alias Landmarks. They might have shot horses there, didn't they?
Did they not?
Did they not? Maybe. Harry's dad was, by reputation, bad with finances, so they didn't stay in any place for very long, but remained in the beach communities for a long time, moving from rental to rental, leaving behind a trail of frustrated landlords. His dad was even arrested for beating up a landlord who came around asking for money.
What?
One known place, 220...
In-N-Out. My fist inside your heart. My fist inside your heart.
Mouth. One known place of residence was in Venice at 221 Market Street for the curious. Harry's teenage years sound fun. He engaged in petty theft. He smoked Chesterfield cigarettes. He sparred with his friends at the amateur boxing gym at Ocean Park. He still, after this, had a sense of responsibility. He worked several jobs in the area. He was a paperboy, a grocer. He sold sandwiches. He delivered hot dogs and hamburger buns.
He sells sandwiches, doesn't he?
That's such a depressing movie. They make him dance for sandwiches. Can everyone just stop and watch They Shoot Horses, Don't They? That's such a good movie. He wasn't much of a student by his own admission. He was not afraid of hard work. He just wasn't a good student. He managed to graduate from Venice High School, filming location of Grease. Briefly called himself...
Interesting that he will be serving Grease.
Around hot rods, which is what a feature of Grease.
What they're all about.
Briefly called himself a communist during his late teens, early 20s. He saw the capitalist system as a total failure and felt a need for a whole new system, which would be communism.
Did he like a hard shell or a soft shell Berlin Wall? Where did he stand on that?
He was sort of like leftist hard shell. Economically, he was hard shell. Socially, he was soft shell. He saw his dad struggle through working class existence his entire life. Harry did not want that for himself. With no economic prospects or proper jobs lined up for the future, Harry did what a lot of young men of the 40s did. He killed German people.
Doesn't he?
Specifically Nazis during World War II. He didn't actually kill anybody. He did serve in the war doing non-combat duties. He was drafted in 1942 at the age of 29. He had a perforated eardrum, which kept him from serving in the army. He didn't have to hide in a trench and stare at a photo of a lady in his helmet or whatever war is.
Lucky him. He had a perforated eardrum instead. How many in just the last couple episodes has it been like this guy served in the Pacific?
I was thinking that too, and
then he came back and he started Taco Bell.
I think when you're fighting the Nazis, that's much more normal for anybody. Like me and you could have picked up a gun we're gonna go to Germany and we're gonna bring down this crazy Third Reich. I want a bunch of land in Germany and we gotta kill a bunch of German people to do
land
it.
Grab.
Land grab.
Lamb grab.
Lamb grab.
I mean, Zenku chicken. It's a lamb grab every time you're in there.
Jurassic Park reference.
Where's the garlic sauce?
He mostly sat behind a desk in his records department processing B-24s. I thought that would make sense when I wrote it down, and now that I say it loud, no idea what that means.
It's the prequel band to the B-52s.
That's pretty funny.
He was a producer.
The war's going on!
We're so not... We just display over and over again how unqualified we are for war by pointing out that the B-52 is what we know as a band rather than whatever it is from the military in real life.
Motorhead, like Lemmy? Oh, you're talking about car. Oh, yeah. Okay, I don't know what that means then. He moved around plenty while doing service and landed briefly in Los Angeles as a clerk typist for the Army Air Corps. But when the war ended...
I'm a clerk typist for the library.
That's like a different kind of war.
That's like a war on your self-esteem.
When the war ended in 1945, Harry packed up...
My war never ends.
V-Day. A guy kisses a nurse. She's a doctor.
The day that will live in infamy because that nurse did not give consent.
She was not like, who are you? Don't kiss me again. It was 1947. He was 34, working as a caterer, selling boxed sandwiches to the cafeteria at Fort Lawton. Dropping off sandwiches at Fort Lawton one day in 1947, he delivered to the restaurant's manager named Esther Johnson, and this woman would become his wife. Esther, we'll go through her story, came from a long line of coal miners from Illinois. Another
coal miner's daughter?
Yeah, she was a coal miner. She is Loretta Lynn.
She became a doctor, though. All daughters are doctors.
All daughters are doctors.
But not all doctors are daughters.
Not all women are daughters. Maybe they are. Damn it.
And not all men also. We want to make that clear.
Not me, that's for sure. Just like Harry came from a really hard labor working class family. A big one at that. Unlike Harry, Esther was an academic. She was also a church-going girl. She was raised going to a Free Methodist church. Esther was sharp. She was an honor student as well as being a member of the Glee Club, the school chorus, and the commercial club, as well as being the class president and the assistant editor of the Shiloh High school paper.
Wait a minute. So she's very Christian. He is...
I guess sort of Christian.
But what is his last name again?
Schneider.
Schneider, which is very usually a Jewish last name. So I'm confused of how it became so religious. I don't know. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Jewish last name.
I guess I didn't pay attention close enough, but I know that his parents didn't speak English well, and they were from Canada. Are they French-Canadian?
Could be, but I mean, Schneider's not really a French-Canadian
Yeah, then
name.
I don't know.
They could be just German.
I know they moved around a lot, and they landed in Seattle, and that's where
they forgot where they were from. They've got an accent.
You're around ships so much, you just speak the sea.
You speak the language of the sea, which is seagull. Beautiful accent.
She was modest and achieved things quietly. College was a struggle, though, not because the studies were above her understanding, but because her grandparents became ill and Esther had to look after them. The money for tuition was hard to come by, and the time away from home was seen as a problem. She eventually, in 1940, after the passing of her grandmother, went back and earned a teaching certificate. She was working as a school teacher when the U.S. entered World War II, and Esther decided to join the war effort. She enlisted in something called the WAVES, which stood for Women Accepted for Voluntary Emergency Service. Yeah, let's call it WAVES. That sounds way better. WAVES' purpose was to fill the vacancies that were created when all the men went. Tens of thousands of them left to the war. WAVES was not a combat group, so they weren't hiding in trenches staring at photos of cowboys or in the helmets or whatever war was.
But punctured eardrums.
But they performed duties uncharacteristic for women at the time.
Being a doctor.
That's how she became a doctor. Working with the Navy, Esther served as a surgical nurse and a pharmacist nurse. Yeah. And by the end of the war, she earned the rank of pharmacist mate, second class. Esther had seen something during her service that stuck with her. No, it wasn't the burn victims. It was the West Coast.
Sunburn victims.
Sunburn victims. She was enchanted by the West Coast and with another like-minded friend made the trip to Seattle, enrolling in Seattle Pacific University and working first at a laundry, but then eventually landing a job as a manager of a restaurant at Fort Lawton that would be the meeting ground to her future husband. It was here in 1947 she meets Harry Schneider. The couple married in 1948, leaving Seattle for Southern California, where our story should begin, where the Schneiders owned a bakery. His parents owned a bakery. The two moved to a then rural area of Los Angeles, Baldwin Park. For the unfamiliar, it's along the 10 freeway where around the time you hit the 605, nestled between El Monte, where James Ellroy's mother was killed, and West Covina, home to haunted Galster Park. Post-war America saw Americans moving away from the city to the suburbs to start families, and post-war Baldwin Park was the ideal place for working-class Americans following the American dream of prosperity on their own terms. And doing this reading, I don't know if it's the first time it made sense to me. The American dream just truly means being your own boss. That's all that means.
Yeah, not working for anybody. Not who's working for who.
Exactly. It's just a continually shuffling. I don't want to work for you. I want to own my own business. And then that's you get out taco.
This is the freakish capitalism that created Nagels.
Baldwin Park in the 40s was orange groves, citrus orchards, vineyards, cattle ranches, and dairy farms. The PE Railway had a stop through town. In view was the snow-capped San Gabriel Mountains.
But was he from the wrong side of the taco tracks? Did we decide that was the metaphor we were going with before?
In view was the snow-capped San Gabriel Mountains, but the sun shined on that suburb perfectly. It was postcard Southern California on the verge of the car craze that would become another cultural staple of the area. The Snyders moved into a very modest one-bedroom house at the corner of Vineland and Francisquito. I never say that right. Across the street.
It's Lebanese.
It means a river.
It means bell.
They were across the street from the Baldy View trailer park. This somehow matters. Around this time, Harry had an idea. Some call it a dream. In my opinion, you could look back at any success to the origin order point and call it a dream goal. You can't do that with a failure, though. But at this point, because he didn't know what was going to happen, I'm going to call it an idea. Harry had an idea. He watched his parents shuffle from job to job his whole life. He didn't want that. He wanted the American dream to be his own boss. He wanted to open up a little hamburger stand in Baldwin Park.
Everybody's ticket to success is a hamburger stand.
I'm going to open up a little thing right here.
You know what? This might be a crazy idea no one's done before. I'm going to open a hamburger stand.
But with this little hamburger stand came a pretty innovative idea. The shack they were operating out of was small, so small, having a restaurant was out of the question, which wasn't even a thing at the time. When you said
shack, for some reason, I immediately thought of Shaquille O'Neal, and then you said small, and I was like, that's not...
I did a search for In-N-Out Shack, and I was like, did you mean In-N-Out Shaquille O'Neal? No, stupid idiot.
His first location was a little Shaquille.
Having a restaurant was not even a thing at the time anyway, so like, just to open up a counter, basically. Mm-hmm. He wanted a place where people could get sandwiches and go. Before you lose your poo, In-N-Out was not the first drive-thru. That award goes to Red's Giant Hamburg in Springfield, Illinois, off of Route 66. But this was only a year before, 1947. In-N-Out might be, in fact, the second drive-thru location, but because Red's closed in 1984, In-N-Out is now the longest running drive-thru.
Really? Even before McDonald's?
Yeah. McDonald's might be older, but they didn't have a drive-thru.
Right. They had drive-ins?
I think it was more like a car hop.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, like a Sonic's, which is the oldest of everything.
Yeah, this is the oldest place you can get food. Jesus Christ with his disciples, the apostles.
Upon the Mount of Sonic.
They wanted fish.
He turned water into shakes.
Apparently, there was also a place in town on Sunset in Vermont called the Pig Stand, which some consider to be the first drive-in restaurant opened in 1932. But that's a drive-in, like I was saying, closer to a car hop. And it was actually Texas-born eatery. It wasn't a California thing, but they had a location in Hollywood. Anywho, drive-thrus. I can't imagine Red's was such a hit that on the West Coast people would have heard of it. So I imagine in the first year, it was just seen as a gimmick. So I assume Harry Schneider came up with the idea, I want to say almost independently. First, in his own mind, that kind of matters to me. But Harry Schneider and Red's Giant Hamburg were onto something. Car culture was pushing society's eating habits forward, and the next step in the evolutionary chain after car hops was drive-thrus. Uh-huh. Southern California was the most heavily motorized place on the planet. By the 1940s, there's over 1 million cars in Los Angeles, 5 automobiles for every 4 families. The auto boom meant people were opening up just like any little eat-on-the-go burger and hot dog shack stands. And to attract these speeding customers, these little stands and shacks had to grab their attention, the more outlandish the possible. This was a sort of like googie and kitsch architecture boom that we like, a giant tamale that sells not tamales. Kitsch. The Schneiders were not this sort of like googie and kitsch architecture people. They were modest. They wanted to open a modest little stand. They would have a hard time competing with that, but they're going to give it a go. With financial help from a man named Charles Nodden, Harry Schneider was able to open up his little burger stand. He also got advice from a fast food pioneer, Carl N. Karcher, who had built a small but growing chain of hot dog stands in Los Angeles. He called it Carl's Jr.?
Wait a minute. Did Carl's Jr. start in Los Angeles?
It just says that he had a location in Los Angeles. Maybe it was not. Carl's advice, among other things, make people feel special. And I kind of like, when I read that, I'm like, well, that's corny. And then I read the rest of it.
Be sexy about it. Make them feel special with the biggest breast you've ever seen. And they're spilling ranch dressing all over it. Ooh, yeah. That's what sells food.
So it's October 22nd, 1948, 70 years ago today, the day we're recording this. Today is the 70th birthday of In-N-Out. The Schneiders opened up their first burger joint across the street from their house on Garvey Avenue. It was
in Baldwin Park.
It was a modest, low-sling box on a small lot. Another philosophy of Harry's was to serve the freshest food. His nephew explained that his uncle wanted to take the lettuce out of the ground, the tomato off the vine, and the onion, and to prepare the burger fresh right now.
Bun straight off the tree.
Go to the bun tree, get it. The original menu was hamburgers, 25 cents. Cheeseburgers, which were invented in Pasadena at the right spot, mind you, were 30 cents. 15 cents for the French fries, 10 cents for soft drinks.
You know, I feel like those ratios of price is still the same. Like cheeseburger is 4% more expensive, and the French fries is 20% as much as this.
It's a formula that came up with by Carl's Jr.
If you add all those percentages up, it equals 69 because it's Carl's Jr.
Harry came up with a name for his modest little hamburger stand that people would eat and go, and he called it Eat and Go. No, I'm just kidding. He called it In-N-Out.
He called it Taco Bell.
Taco Bell. Their early motto was no delay. That changed.
What is it now? That's what our hamburger's all about?
I think it's just drive-through.
Next customer. That's their motto.
Their motto now is half the Bible. I'm just kidding. They don't do
that. 316.
They had a red neon sign with elongated corners, while block letters and stripes posted by the side of the road. This is not the one we're thinking of. It was the original sign. On their first day of business, they sold a total of 47 hamburgers to each other, probably. During their first month, they sold 2,000, bringing in around $1,100. Harry created, and he created, like I keep saying, he had like a strong philosophy behind all this. His philosophical formula that would become the operating principle in and out: quality, cleanliness, cleanliness and service. Harry was known for being a fanatical about the quality of his food. He would visit meat suppliers to check on beef purchases and watch the butchers cut up the beef and make sure he got exactly what he paid for, which is pain. Pain about
Is he suffering? Good.
Good.
That's what our hamburgers are all about.
He was also a clean freak, and he did not want his customers picking up food from a sloppy-looking burger stand. In-N-Out, more like immaculate and out. He also didn't like sloppy burgers. He developed a system for building burgers. The secret sauce was spread generously from the bottom slice of the bun to prevent it from running off the ends. No drip except on the paper wrappers. Grilling burgers, it was minute on one side, 2 minutes on the other as to not lose the juices. Gotta cook some fries up. Cooker was kept clean and floating pieces removed quickly. Salt was to be shaken while holding the container at shoulder length to ensure evenness. Buns were lightly toasted before the beef and the onion were added, and each burger received 2 slices of tomatoes. It's that simple. Only those.
Don't be an idiot.
Just do it. Just do it. Only those tomatoes that fit 5 wide in a specially designed box were deemed the right size.
It's so weird that as you're describing all of this, like I can taste each ingredient.
Yeah.
Like the slightly toasted
onion.
bun, the edges of it are a little crispy.
The fresh lettuce, everything. Yeah, I can feel my teeth going layer by layer until they meet the other teeth. I'm like, did these put teeth in there? Oh, it's my teeth.
Is this on the secret menu? Can I get the burger that eats me? Thank you.
To help with his idea of no delay In-N-Out service, Harry put up his amateur electronics enthusiasm to the test and created a truly innovative device in the field of drive-thru food. He doesn't even really get credit for this. The two-way speaker was a creation from Harry Schneider. Yeah, he came up with this, and he came up with the idea to speed the process of ordering up. However, in 1948, people new to the speaker box had no idea what it was or how to work it properly, and they thought it was a communist witch sent to record your eating habits and sell it to the Ruskies. They had no idea what this was, so the Schneiders had to get
a face on it.
I think they had to go outside and just like, you're talking to the box, and then my wife could hear you in that box.
Is that why there's still people out?
Yeah, probably. It's an homage. I don't know what that entails, but I imagine it sounded like sci-fi to everybody at the time. Harry Schneider doesn't really get a lot of credit for that, as I said. And in fact, Dave Thomas, founder of Wendy's, seems to think he did it in 1971. Please. You idiot.
You dumb southern boob. You didn't invent
country bumpkin.
You didn't even invent anything down by the watering hole.
I also invented squares.
Also tacos.
I'm so sorry to every person with a southern accent that we refer to as dumb. I apologize sincerely.
Just individuals.
Yeah. Just Dave Thomas. Esther referred to In-N-Out as the granddaddy of drive-thrus, and I agree. It's certainly California's first modern drive-thru. In the beginning, it was the Schneiders who did everything in the burger stand. They prepped the patties, they peeled tomatoes, sliced onions, sliced tomatoes. They stirred up the secret Schneider sauce, which would
delicious. You want an extra Schneider sauce?
It would take Harry years to perfect this, and boy, is it perfect.
Do you want Harry Schneider sauce?
Harry Schneider's secret sauce. Harry ran the gas grill. Esther was in charge of the books. They worked grueling, punishing hours at In-N-Out, but it was paying off. The locals lined up outside of this modest little shack. They were incredibly popular at the trailer park across the street. People that were like, I don't really feel like cooking in the trailer, and they would just go to In-N-Out every night. So not only were they capturing motorists going in and out of Los Angeles, In-N-Out,
they were also capturing people who lived in motors.
Yeah, also they got foot traffic. 3 years.
See, we don't just make fun of Southerners.
We make fun of rubes in California too. People who remind us of Southerners. I'm so sorry. We don't mean it. Audible wink. 3 years later, in 1951, the business had established itself as a must-stop, must-eat burger spot. In-N-Out had long lines of cars snaking into streets, even in 1951. That happened today when I was getting food.
It's always
like that. By this point, they had employees working a small shack with too many customers. The employees, which might have been just 1 to 2 teenagers, had the In-N-Out look. Well-groomed hair, clean white shirt. Red aprons didn't come out into the scene until 70s. Paper cadet hat. That was the look even back then.
There, we have a hat right here.
We have a hat right here. I'm wearing it.
You're not wearing it.
Lie to everybody. I want to seem cool.
All right, but you're not wearing it. I've been lying. You're not wearing it.
You're Dave Thomas. He took Carl from Carl's Jr. advice to make people feel special, and by having truly polite employees, that was his ticket. Smiles for the customers, whether it's genuine or great acting. I watched a California Gold when Hill Hauser went there, and that was when it clicked like, oh yeah, I've always had really nice service at In-N-Out. I haven't had like a rude person. It's a weird, cool thing.
Well, it's if you treat your employees not poorly.
If you pay them fair wages, they'll smile.
If you pay them enough, anyone will smile.
Pretty early on, he hired only male teens. I think there was an opportunity to hire a female employee in the
because they didn't want to be operated on by their mother, the hamburger.
I can't cook this burger.
Why not? This burger is my mother.
Harry didn't want female teenagers working in there, not because he thought that they couldn't do the job or they didn't belong in the workplace. His wife was a great worker. He was afraid of In-N-Out becoming hanky-panky hamburgers.
Oh, no.
He was afraid of it.
No double here.
And I know that In-N-Out is also sexual innuendo, but any chance I have to say hanky-panky, I'm taking it.
I'll have to rename this place Whoopee and Whoopee.
Around this time, the early 50s, is when the hot rod craze of suburban LA went around. That's when that whole scene would just go around LA cruising, and they would need late night burger spots, and In-N-Out was there for them. They stayed open till 1 a.m. even back then. So In-N-Out in Baldwin Park was a local hangout for hot rodder dragsters,
drag racers,
rolling on the raceways of Australia, gas guzzlers looking for the hope
that is Harry Schneider's secret sauce.
I'm just happy to add Mad Max to the lexicon of movies we reference. It's about time.
Our palette is expanding.
It would become like a hangout scene. They would go, they'd park their hot rods, they'd listen to the radio, they'd eat burgers until Harry scared them away because he didn't really like them, but that was the scene anyways. But yes, In-N-Out was blossoming just the right time that dragsters and surfers were coming around.
And that's sort of an era they've tried to stay apart.
Yeah, they're trying to capitalize on that.
Living in that past for a long time now.
Every time I see a shirt with like it's a hot rods and it's like a airbrushed background, I'm like, I want that shirt. I know exactly what burger I'm gonna get.
Hey, this looks like a shirt made by the Harley Davidson company. I like this.
It seems like my dad's teenage years. I'm gonna eat that. My dad's first In-N-Out experience wasn't very late, and he said the closest one to him was there was Baldwin Park one, but all his friends, because they would cruise Van Nuys, would go to the one in San Fernando off the 5. It's like not Pacoima or Sylmar. It's like it's there still.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's San Fernando. That's
what is that?
I think that's more. If we are thinking of the same one, I think that is Pacoima.
Pacoima, right? I feel like it's Pacoima because that's that long stretch there. Then you see a bunch of Ridgely Valley and stuff. Oh boy,
that's Pacoima.
They were capitalizing right at the right time, and they were just sort of fusing with these like Southland archetypes. Like they were just like Pacific POP was coming at the same time as surf music and surf culture. It perfectly fused together. Perfect timing. Around the time they updated the logo from the red logo to what we now know. It's the long yellow arrow with the rectangle panel underneath reading in Gothic lettering, In-N-Out Burger. Iconic. By this time, the burger stand got noticed by the Hollywood elite who would stop by the burger stand on their way to Palm Springs. So it's the only road in and out to get to that side. Dinah Shore, Debbie Reynolds, Eddie Fisher, Lucille Ball, who was probably eating a burger when the Japanese were sending messages. Bob Hope was a huge In-N-Out frequent. Bob Hope's 92nd birthday in 1995 was catered by In-N-Out.
Oh, God.
Schneider's never wanted to build a chain or empire, but it happened. In 1951, they opened up their second location in Covina, and by the next year, 1952, they opened up 3 more: Laverne, West Covina, and Pasadena, stretching the franchise across the San Gabriel Valley. But as business expanded, a relationship began to sour, and that was between Harry Schneider and the financier Charles Noden, the man who helped give the money for the original location. Schneider was happy with his output and weary about expanding. Noden wanted to increase prices and cut costs, which is what all the fast food franchises were doing at the time. But Schneider was stubborn, so by 1952, the two agreed that they could no longer agree, and they split their partnership as well as they split the existing stores. I don't really know who kept what. I think Harry kept the name In-N-Out and 3 of the stores, including the original location. Noden went on to open another burger chain in Pasadena. What Harry learned from this was to stay independent and to not share In-N-Out with his. That was his baby.
The Glen Bell way.
Yeah, do not share this thing with an outsider. Oh, and speaking of babies, in the early 50s, the Schneiders gave birth to a son whose name was, they should have gave it a minute. He prefers to go by Guy. His middle name was Guy, and he took his father's first name.
Harry Guy. Yep. Harry Guy Schneider.
Yep.
Perfect. Harry Guy Schneider sauce.
I don't want to eat that. The next year they had another
son. A guy can't be a doctor.
That guy can't. The next year they had another son, Richard Allen. Something, though, was coming, and it would change Baldwin Park and the original In-N-Out forever, as well as the natural landscape of the entire state. And it was the 10 freeway, the Interstate Highway. 1954, the 10 freeway was built, and it was cut through right through Baldwin Park, forcing the Schneiders to tear down the original stand and rebuild a new one at a short distance. That's a shame, yes, but the freeway would promise more travelers that would be stopping by. Schneider once again innovated drive-through with the creation of the double drive-through, which I personally thought was a new thing, but I thought it was at least 10 years old, but that was a thing at the original In-N-Out.
Oh, I know it. Yeah, some of them have that.
If you're wondering if the 10 freeway was built over the original shack, it was, and the Schneiders lived across the street and their house was there. They also had to move. But don't fret, the Schneiders were now wealthy enough to move from Baldwin Park to San Dimas, California, home to Bill S. Preston, Esquire, and Theodore Ted Logan of Bill and Ted fame. In the movie, that's where they're from. That's where they took Genghis Khan and Abraham Lincoln to Raging Waters.
I was going to ask, which water park was it there? Raging Waters or Hurricane Harbor?
They're
both owned by Pepsi. It might be true, actually.
It's actually Sprite coming out.
It's Pepsi Crystal.
It was the mid-50s, post-war America, and they had now achieved the American dream. They created a business. They were their own bosses. They had a house in the suburbs of Southern California with 2 children. That was it. The Schneiders had made it, but they were not slowing down at all. They continued working hard on their modest little hamburger stand, and by 1960, they expanded to 7 In-N-Outs. And then the 60s hit. Could we cue on White Rabbit from Jefferson Airplane for this segment? Get Grace Slick on the phone. 1961. To fulfill a customer's request, a burger was prepared. A burger was prepared that cooked mustard along with the patty and was assembled with extra additions, pickles, extra secret Schneider sauce, or spread as we'll call it from this point on, and grilled onions. Now this is referred to secretly, when we shouldn't even be saying this here. This was the first animal-style burger.
In the 60s.
1961. It was made for all these animals on their dragster cars. They want all this extra sauce.
Give me hippie burgers.
Yeah. In the 50s, they continued perfecting their image, and all these things we sort of now know them for. And I know I never gave too much thought about how cool it is, but there's a lot of little things about In-N-Out that do make you feel special. There's the secret menus. There's the will you be eating in your car placemats. There's different colored palm trees for the different types of cups. The drive-through wall windows so we could see the team cook because they believe in transparency. These are all really cool.
I voted on that.
Did you?
More transparency in In-N-Out. What'd you think I was talking about?
You
seem like I just duped you.
I must have thought that there was an In-N-Out vote and you were involved. I want to see all the guys doing the fryer with body cams. I want to see body cams.
I want to know what's happening in those areas I can't see.
Schneider took Carl's Jr.'s advice and he made every customer feel special. And it's all these little tips and tricks to In-N-Out that are so neat. In the mid-60s, double doubles were added to the regular menu. That's 2 patties and 2 slices of American cheese between your buns. There's also a 3x3 and a 4x4. No. You used to be able to order as many patties, cheeses as you wanted, but some dipstick fudged it up for everyone and ordered 100 by 100, and now the limit is a 4x4. The 100 by 100 cost that bozo, we'll call him Icarus. It cost Icarus $97.66, 19,490 calories. So whatever happened to him, I hope it hurt. But you could also order a different company. You better
hope his mom's a doctor.
You can order a 4x2 or a 3x2, anything you desire. If you say the word cold, it means you prefer to have your cheese not melty.
Ew.
And yeah, you know what? Let's take this time to go through the sacred hush.
Okay, good, because I never know what it is.
There's a lot more than I'm going to list.
Do they have gorditas?
You can ask them. They'll probably make it.
Can I get a gordita?
No. I wasn't trained to say no, but no. I thought this list was containable, but it's seemingly not. There's a website that's like 29 awesome items on the secret menu. I'm like, is there more than 29? So I'm going to read this. Go ahead and cue Benny Goodman's Sing Sing Sing, which is funny enough what I was typing to just randomly when
dun 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 dun.
Boom. Animal style can be applied to any burger or fries. It's the spread, cheese, and grilled onions. The secret for the animal style fries is to order the fries well, meaning they cook the fries longer and they get crunchy.
I don't like that.
But they get crunchy. They won't fold under the shape of the animal style editions. They won't go soft. They'll stay hard. You're stupid. The Flying Dutchman is 2 slices of cheese melted between 2 meat patties. No buns, no tomatoes, no lettuce.
Ew. So it's just you're holding meat?
Yeah, you're holding meat and cheese.
Stand there with my meat in my hands?
Everyone looking at me? Grilled cheese is everything you love about getting a cheeseburger without the meat patty. Vegetarians love it. Vegans hate it. Protein style, a regular burger with lettuce replacing the buns. Watch out, kiddies. This thing is cold and wet. You can also order a side salad, which is a double wrapper full of produce along with some spread to use as dressing. You can order a veggie burger, which is just lettuce doubling as a meat patty, but you get your buns. A wish burger is a toasted burger with lettuce and tomato. You can add the usual onion spread and pickles. It's a toasted.
I don't understand. Toasted, like the bread
is really crispy?
the
bread is crispy. You can say fries inside and you get fries in your burger.
Are you kidding me?
You could say
that. You didn't tell me this like 6 years ago?
You can order cheese fries. You can say light, which means undercooked fries. I don't know what that's about. A Scoopy snack is a single grilled patty. It's great to give the little doggies when they're on the car with you.
That's bad for them.
Nothing in it's bad for you. There's ways to customize your burger. Some people order mustard fried patties, which is like they fry mustard along with the patty.
I thought that's animal style.
I thought that too. I don't know the difference, but this one isn't animal style. It's just mustard along with the patty. You can customize your burger with chopped chilies as well. People order burgers medium rare, fries fries well done, whole grilled onions, chopped grilled onions. You can order a Neapolitan shake, which is the 3 shakes combined. You can get a root beer float.
Really?
Half a vanilla shake with a half a root beer. You can get a black and white, which is just the chocolate and vanilla. They come in a different colored cup.
How come they don't have cherry Coke? We've talked about this. Like, they need to have cherry Coke there. We've gone there specifically craving cherry Coke, and they don't have cherry Coke. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not saying like handcrafted cherry Coke. Just import like cherry Coke. Yeah. Pepsi brand cherry Coke.
They're never going to change. These people don't change.
They'll never change.
That was a much needed detour. Let's get back on track in the timeline. It's the 70s and the company is thriving. They continue developing their brand, which is still coexisting with Southern California culture. In 1971, the Irwindale drag strip has been getting more popular due to the car craze. Harry has made an investment in 1965 in the raceway and now is paying off because the burgers were sold at concession stands to racers and fans, further fusing In-N-Out with the car craze. It was almost like eating In-N-Out meant you liked cars.
Yeah, it's a statement.
It's a statement.
No, it's a different kind of statement.
Which is, I'm so hungry. So it's 1972, and I don't know why this is my favorite fact of the whole story. Harry Schneider was a huge fan of the comedy movie It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, which involves every actor you've ever seen looking for buried treasure under the cryptic clue under the big W. And it turns out, spoiler alert, skip ahead if you don't want to hear this, it's buried under 4 palm trees that resemble a W. And because In-N-Out was a Schneider's treasure, there's a tradition at some In-N-Outs to have the twisted palm trees planted at the location, which is some next level Ally Meekley stuff. Yeah. That's like us having a DeLorean. It's kind of corny saying that In-N-Out was Schneider's treasure and he crossed the palm trees to allude to that, but he also just thought it looked cool, and it does. It's a cool look.
It's a relaxing sort of look.
1976. Harry Schneider passes away after a bout with lung cancer at the age of 63.
How many cancers in this one episode?
Too many. At the time of his death, there was 18 In-N-Out locations across the Southland. He did that. He was buried at Forest Lawn in Covina Hills. Now, Esther takes over, and it comes time to make one of her sons the heir to the animal-style throne.
We know this doesn't go well.
But it doesn't go to the firstborn guy, who was a bit of a rebel. He was a bit of a car guy, a little bit into the drugs of the 60s and 70s. No. The title of the president goes to the younger and more conservative son, Richard. It must have been a huge blow to a guy who was given the title. It was like a throwaway title, executive vice president.
Friend.
Pal.
Brother of president.
Frequent In-N-Out eater. Esther continues on as a secretary.
Birthday boy.
Esther continues on as the secretary treasurer, as well as being the controlling stake in the shareholder. Richard has a vision for expansion of his father's company. It was his idea to build the executive complex in Baldwin Park, which is still there. He moved the corporate office to Irvine. It was also his idea to add Bible verses to the In-N-Out items such as cups, fry boats, and burger wrappers. Slow down.
Hang on.
Do not
jump on the secret menu.
Do not jump on this. Damn it. I know better. I know to not do that. I should never say that. I should never say freeze.
Clever grill.
God damn it.
They never freeze, Ian. They're patties.
I know better. Don't flub like that. A flux capacitor. Oh no. Back to Richard and his Bible verses. His pastor at the Calvary Chapel explained that hamburgers are so popular. He thought it was a great idea to awaken people to the fact that the Bible is relevant and has answered for today's problems. The soda cups cite John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. The milkshake cups cite Proverbs 3:5. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. And the water cups are stamped with John 14:6. Jesus answered, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And to all this I say, fine.
I don't understand. I mean, who are you trying to, like if you put those, you're just putting the numbers. It's not like you're putting all the words. I'm not going to see the numbers and be like, oh, I'm going to go look that up. Like, if you know what those numbers means, you're already
I feel like that's the point, is to make somebody look it up, and then it's the exact thing they need to read that day, and they're like, oh, crap, I got to buy my own Bible now. Because they're at the library. Yeah, I'm not opposed to it. In-N-Out has a lot of things that I'm like a little bit taken aback, and then I'm like, what? Second thought, I don't care.
I mean, it's not like it's stamped on the burger.
Yeah, exactly. You can actually customize it.
You can get it prophet style, and it's stamped with a Bible verse of your choice.
And it's made with holy water. All of this is awful.
Not to my religion.
To go back to saying things that I'm a little bit taken aback by, recently it was found out that In-N-Out was donating money to the Republican Party, and people were like, what's that about? And then like, well, we actually donated money to all the parties, and we're like, clever.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, and that's the thing about In-N-Out. They seem really fair, but when you're there at 2 a.m, they're like, hey, we're trying to close.
How is this fair?
How is this fair?
You gave a hamburger to that Republican over there.
Through the rest of the 70s and 80s, the store continued to expand and change in seemingly small ways, but they were huge to them. They opened their first In-N-Out that has a dining room for customers. That was in Ontario, California. A few years later, they opened the first location that has a drive-thru and a dining room. That was in Placentia.
I always think that place is called Placenta.
I wrote it down. I wrote, don't say placenta.
Don't wake placenta.
I hate that game. In 1984, at the spot where the Schneider's home once stood, Rich Schneider opened up the In-N-Out University, which is where they train entry-level managers to be able to properly manage a In-N-Out. And by the way, In-N-Out is known for paying their employees fair wages, not minimum wage. They have a reputation for treating their employees very well. As far as I've heard, I've had a couple cousins who work there. They have no complaints. The company store, also in Baldwin Park, same complex as the university, opened up in 1985, and it's the real deal. It's choice. Socks, classic shirts, the best coffee mug I've ever seen in my life. I got my girlfriend the air fresheners that don't smell like, unfortunately, they don't smell like food, but they're shaped like the food. And now she just has,
what do they smell like?
Like cinnamon and like, well, I don't know the other ones. I don't remember. But like cinnamon. They look like the items.
Mayo.
It's like a little cutout of like a burger and the fries, and it just hangs. And every time we see it, we're like, well, I guess we're going to In-N-Out. They have really great merchandise. In 1990, the first In-N-Out opens out of state in Las Vegas, and it's what I like to call the California Embassy. In 1993, Richard Schneider, the president of In-N-Out, dies in a plane crash during a descent into the John Wayne Airport. And the relationship with his brother Guy was not great. But the day before the crash, Richard attempted to reconcile. Guy had been living up in Northern California. He had a daughter named Lindsay Schneider. He also, unfortunately, had a drug problem still. When Richard died, Guy assumes the position of chairman of the board, and Esther becomes the president. The store continued doing its thing. They opened up a Westwood location, which was the closest that an In-N-Out has come to becoming Googie. It was designed by Stephen Canner. We know the one. That's the one next to the Improv Space. Under his watch, In-N-Out gets 140 new locations. He's also known for creating the Flying Dutchman. That was his invention. Sadly, Guy passes away in December of 1999. He has an overdose on painkillers. I know. Esther, who now lost both sons with no warning, was alone running this burger empire with her granddaughter, Lindsay, who was now getting more and more involved in day-to-day operations.
Woman inherits the earth.
Gosh, darn it! Lindsay continued to gain more and more traction in her family's company and soon managing her own locations as time went on. She says that there was 2 attempts at kidnapping her made.
What?
The first was in high school, and the second happened when she was managing a location. She said she spotted a potential attackers due to their boarded up van and ran across the adjacent freeway to escape them. Since then, she's been incredibly private. I mean,
weird.
I would kidnap a daughter of $1 million fortune.
Yeah, that's what I keep with this lotto drawing that's coming up. I keep thinking, like, if I make $1 billion, everyone's going to kidnap my family.
Yeah, oh no, for sure. Yeah. And you won't pay.
No,
I know you.
I only have $1 billion. What am I, made of money? When I win the lottery?
I read a book on Getty, and he didn't pay.
He got it in your back.
In 2006, things were getting rough. There was a long-time vice president named Richard Boyd, who I didn't hear about until this story. He was suing In-N-Out for breach of contract, torturous interference with contract, and defamation. He claimed Lindsay and her second husband were attempting to wrestle away control from the elderly Esther and had forced employees to attend Bible studies and pray at meetings. The company immediately sued back. It was not looking good. Lindsay had to go out and defend herself like, I love my grandma. None of this stuff is true. Esther died later that year, 2006, the last person who had seen the original In-N-Out of the family. She managed, though, when she died, to keep the family lineage alive through her 24-year-old granddaughter's involvement. She was now 24 years old. Snyder's modest little shack has now expanded to 310 locations, and I believe 4 non-California states, Ohio, Nevada, Arizona, and Texas. In 2010, it became official. Lindsay was the president of $1 billion company. She plans on keeping In-N-Out in the Schneider family, never planning to...
Took her that long? I just bought one lotto ticket.
She wants never plan on franchising or to turn into a chain. She controls all the things. She never wants to take it public. She said this: the only reason we would do that is for money, and I wouldn't do that. My heart is totally connected to this company because of my family and the fact that they are not here. I have a strong tie to keep this the way they would want it. In 2014, they opened up a replica of the original Baldwin Park stand in Baldwin Park. It's like what the shack originally looked like. It's 10 square feet. The original menu with the original prices standing proudly outside the shack. They continue growing and expanding locations and menu items. In January of 2018, this year, a new menu item was added: hot cocoa.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. You better believe that the news treated this like it was a royal birth. Every news station was like, can you believe it? And
did you stay up for the announcement? Weren't they talking about adding like bacon burger or something?
It was
I didn't see that.
On the table at some point. I remember at some point reading that like bacon won't happen, but that was
good.
It was an article from a long time ago. The Schneiders wanted to create something special with their burgers, and they did so much more than that, so much more than a unique fast food experience. They created Southern California lore.
Yeah, it's weird. It is nonstop making fun of people from Los Angeles.
And they're
like, you're going to talk about In-N-Out now? You like In-N-Out better?
I love it so much. When people come out of state and they're like, I have to try it, and they don't like it, I'm like, well, you did it wrong. You didn't do it
this
right.
This is on you.
Yeah, this is on me. It's you.
Your taste buds are dead from whatever city you came
Whataburger is so
from.
much better. It can't be. They're stupid and ugly.